Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day two of the Qatar Hybrid Cloud and Cyber Summit organized by Trex Event. We had a very interesting set of discussions yesterday covering a range of topics focusing on Qatar as the geography, including safeguarding critical infrastructure, modernization to hyper-converged cloud infrastructure, its scalability, resilience, flexibility, and also the challenges that comes along, and also integrating public and private environments and best practices in hybrid cloud. I'd like to start off by thanking our esteemed sponsors, Cloud4C, who's our mission critical cloud partner, and also our gold sponsors, SUSE, Manage Engine, and VM. I'd also like to thank all our esteemed speakers, moderators, and panelists for taking the time today to join the discussions. Before we kick off the proceedings, some basic tips for making the most of these sessions. We encourage everybody to engage in the discussions. You have the option to comment, ask questions, and engage with our panelists and speakers using the chat section. And also don't forget to visit our partner booths at the expo area on the left side, where you'll find more information about how they can help your organization. And also feel free to drop in your questions to them directly. You can also connect with our eminent speaker lineup by clicking on the LinkedIn option buttons on their profiles. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Deepak Kumar, who's the Senior Digital Forensic and Cyber Intelligence Professional. I believe Deepak is with us. Deepak has been working on several consulting and investigating engagements with organizations such as academia, corporates, national and international law enforcement organizations, government sectors, as well as private undertakings. He is presently engaged with ministerial projects related to cyber threat intelligence, security operations center, and capacity building in the area of cybercrime and digital forensics. Hello, Deepak.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for inviting me in this platform. And I really hope like the session for today really important and very illuminating. And the topic for today, for the keynote perspective, that is about the crowd threat intelligence. And that is the need of this the cyber situations basically which we're talking about, like the high volume of data flowing between organizations and cloud service providers generates opportunities for accidental and malicious leaks, generally is for third parties, companies, hackers, or generally you can see a human error perspective of things which can be generated by insider threats, malwares, weak credentials, or maybe you can say criminal activities. There are various malicious actors, including state-sponsored hackers, are there who are seeking exploit cloud services and exploiting the vulnerabilities to exfiltrate data and from the organizations, generally for profit perspective or like for illicit perspective. There could be anything. But the major thing is like the topic on we are emphasizing about the cloud threat intelligence, which is really understanding for the same concern. Like when we see a very old concept or very old code, which is really important to understand, like once the document have been posted online, the genies of the bottle, and sometime it is accidentally, sometime it is deliberately. So what is happening here, when you see various leaks are there, various data breaches are there of the critical infrastructures, when you see it could be education sector, water, irrigation, defense, telecommunication, financial, government, hospital, industry, different energies and transformation, and various sectors are there. The threat actors are there who are rapidly or trying to harvesting the information, exploiting the things which is really for juicy information, which you can say. In general, what is happening here, like when you see the firms which is well known, various breaches which we have seen, these are the open source information, even though they came into news. You can see from in international perspective or any region basically, because it's a cloud environment. If anybody is sitting at any place, they can able to try, they can able to harvest, and they can able to exploit, they can able to target entities. So things are there which you can say. So that is the big concern. The question comes again here, it's not only inviting like the hackers basically to attack into their infrastructure, sometimes it's also attacking to with respect to human lives as well. And now a time when you talk about different warfare's perspective, we have different hybrid attacks methods are there, where they're trying to leverage the issues which is linked with these instances, you can say, like new emerging technologies like misusing things, UAV drones, you can say, IoT, autonomous driving, artificial intelligence, machine learning perspective of misuse, 5G multiplayers, crypto things, and various things are there where it can be also right threatening thing. So I deliberately pointing this particular because what is happening here, it's not only the cloud data of the users or citizen or the services which we are using, but also about the threat intelligence with this situation, like in this scenario, in this session. So like when you understand the threats, so first we should know about what all the threats which is important. Why we pointing cloud perspective? Because now still I'm trying to connect here from India or from this virtual platform or hybrid manual or methods, basically again the which is a digital code. And if any hackers or intruders or any state sponsor try to intercept or to sabotage it as well. So the adversaries, the threat actors, these are important. So in this slide, when you see, when this the perspective which is I want to draw attention, any threat, which should we know to company, entity, and on real time they try to use some sort of policy updates, or you can say use of some methods or some engagement where they can mitigate or prevent on the real time. So that is a important information or evidence based knowledge, you can say, which is there. Similarly, it could be set of data which is collected and properly assessed and applied for various perspective. It could be security threats, it could be bad actors which is trying to penetrate into your network, it could be malwares, it could be vulnerabilities which is linked with any services, which is any model. It could be SaaS, PaaS, or HaaS, or any IS infrastructure perspective. Any models are there. If it is any vulnerability is there, it could be attacked by something. But who is trying? What are the anomaly behaviors? What are the substantial indicators or compromise indicators which can this? So that is again the big subject where we need to study and understand exactly the situation which is need of the hour. Tackling, tracking. So tackling and tracking, analyzing and countering, these are the terms. So again, when you see the result, rather we focus on like how to attack and how to penetrate, we have to more do homework on the defensive mechanism, which is important, like how we can defend ourselves. So one area is of course that is called capacity building, where our human intelligence, our mindset, our practices, our understanding, our common practices which is required. Suppose a company is working with some sort of the people who are not techie, but again they may be a loophole, they may be a root cause. So that is also important. Talking about the countering things, like again you may implement some sort of antiviruses, EDR solutions, or any zero trust or any advancement which is there. But again, if the person, the model, the practices, the people are not tech savvy, then things are not properly in place. And again, the main thing is called the data. The entire game today we are talking about the data, and data is everything. So to defend something, at least we should know if we trustworthy partners, supply chains perspective, or basically those who are providing data that is given, which is important. And similarly the protocols like sharing of information. Like suppose if you want to, you got some sort of information which is linked with, but that information is very secret, confidential, restricted. So like how you categorize the severity, basically that is the TLP protocol, where you talk about the information is green, like open or white, you can share with anyone. Any threat indicator companies, they generally provide some information on internet. That is one. And the last is called indicators of compromise, like any ransomware is there which is targeting the cloud instances or any container based things. So in that case, which from which IP it is being targeted, from which services they are trying to attack. So that indicators, that malware sample, that hash value, that IPs, or that indicators basically means that that is indicators of compromise. And again, when you understand the adversaries like credential theft, vulnerability exploitation, abuse of cloud service providers, exploitation of misconfiguration, and these images, and use of cloud service hosting for malware perspective, that is there, command control C2. And so things are there. So understanding threat intel perspective, like one is called proactive threat hunting, and second is called once the things has been done. So CTI means cyber threat intelligence play important role when they trying to understand or investigate those things. So CISOs, CXOs, who are the working and who are the top big shots or strategic things are there, they should focus on the intel part. Like they should know exactly their services, their offerings, their anything which is from remote perspective, their information, their data is really important. And what is happening with respect of brand monitoring, brand management, monitoring with respect of manual or automated based of things, that is there. So managing thing, that is important, which is there. And again, if something happened like post perspective, so it should be important, like you think yourself, your environment, your cloud infrastructure, your anything, where what kind of identity access management things are there, what kind of vulnerabilities and public APIs are there, what kind of account takeovers, malicious insiders. Sometimes it's not about the outsiders who are trying to attack. Sometimes disgruntled employees or any leak or supply chain attacks, or insiders are there, they may try to means that they can leak some sort of information accidentally or maybe deliberately. Data sharing with whom, that is also important. And sometimes they may try to attackers like a DOS, denial of services, to disrupt. You can see recent attacks as per the open source with this the countries, between the hybrid warfare between the countries and all. So these are the things which should be point from this dashboard. Potential suspect, what kind of commit incidents are there, what kind of things happened since when, were these limited to your company, your country, your jurisdiction, that is important. Can you able to collect all the evidences, which is important. So various questions are there where you think about frameworks which is already available on internet, which is you can focus on. Standards are there, best practices are there. Like you can see from this diagram from MITRE framework, there's a cloud perspective things are there, which is talking about how this can be initially attacked, what system can you defense evade, how can they collect the evidences, the methods, the discovery through which medium. So things are there, you can google, you can find, you can think on the practice aspect, because technologies are there. Let's take one simple example. If there is an open source database, Mongo database, something like that, if any JSON file is there, so hackers, they're trying to attack AWS, different Dropbox or cloud, any different instances work, Google or any cloud service provider. So understanding the misconfiguration things, which is important, and which things required to understand, like what is important, what is not important. So from this diagram you can see, this is about the Windows perspective. Like if any machine, even though it is on cloud, it is some sort of what, it is some sort of operating system. It could be Linux, it could be Windows. If it is Windows, is one example. Like these are the pinpointers where you can check some indicators. Apart from that, the threat collection, threat fusion of these things, which is there, which is important. Like one is called cyber threat intelligence. Similarly, we do have malwares, we do have static analysis, dynamic analysis, memory analysis, understanding the logs, periodically monitoring those logs, how these things are happening. Firewall rules are important. If the rules are properly, that is again what kind of configuration is there, which is important. Various product are there. You can see, you can understand, like the cloud armors are there. We should understand malicious IPs, which is very important. What kind of attacks are there, through which software, which methods are there. So things are there which we need to understand from the perspective which is important. So from this diagram you can see the public cloud IP address. So when a hacker is trying to intrude into your things, so that is things. So understand again to the whole picture, the whole scenario from this particular emerging threats. So again, cloud-based ransomware, cloud-based targets are there, where people are trying to back up their things on cloud. Everything is on cloud. Sometimes any APIs are there, if any services are there. So sometimes it is very important to know the data breaches which is happening on dark web, if any vulnerabilities are there. So these are the things which is there. So I request, or I push something from the cybercrime perspective, even from the cyber security perspective, like understanding from this PPP model, PPT models are there, which is need of the hour. So I request, and I thanks to these organizers for organizing such beautiful and insightful, and from the important emerging technologies perspective, of hybrid attacks perspective, cloud perspective, things are there which is really important for the same things. These are my details as well. You may reach out to me for the same thing. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Deepak, for the very insightful keynote. I'm sure our delegates would capture a lot of key takeaways from the speech. Thank you once again.